Do you believe? With just 4 ingredients and only 4 minutes of prep, you can make this easy bread at home. No kneading, no Dutch oven, no complicated steps. Just mix everything together, let it rest, and bake. Anyone can make this, even if it's your very first time baking bread. Simple, quick, and it turns out amazing every time. Let's get started. You know, this might be one of the easiest bread recipes you'll ever make. Honestly, you can call it a lazy recipe. Let's start with the ingredients. We only need 4 basic ingredients. Here I'm using 560 grams of water, about 19.7 ounces, enough for 2 loaves. Now for the yeast, I'm adding 2 teaspoons, around 6 to 7 grams. Once you add the yeast, give it a good mix until yeast dissolves completely. Here, if you want a little extra flavor, you can add 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, totally optional, but it really improves the taste. See how simple this is. Everything is easy, clean, and straightforward. Once your yeast mixture is ready, set it aside. Now let's move to the flour. For today's recipe, I'm using bread flour, about 12% proteins. If you don't have bread flour and you're using regular plain flour, that's completely fine. Just reduce the water slightly. Here I'm using 700 grams of flour, about 24.7 ounces. For salt, I'm adding 7 grams of sea salt, around 1.5 teaspoons. If you're using fine salt, reduce it slightly to about 5 grams. Now, mix the flour and salt together. At this stage, if you want to boost the flavor, you can add herbs, chopped garlic, or even some shredded cheese. Once your dry ingredients are ready, let's bring everything together. Slowly pour the yeast mixture into the flour and start mixing. Use a spatula, wooden spoon, or a Danish whisk, whatever feels comfortable. Mix it gently. At first, the dough will look dry and shaggy. That's completely normal. Bread flour gives you a stronger structure and a slightly chewy texture, which makes a big difference when you're working with just a few ingredients. Or add a little extra flour while mixing to get the right consistency. Because higher protein flour absorbs more water than lower protein flour, so always adjust based on how your dough feels. Keep mixing until all the flour is fully hydrated. If needed, use your hands to bring everything together. The dough will be sticky. Don't worry about that. Just mix for about 3 to 4 minutes. Once it looks like this, the dough is ready. If you feel the texture needs adjusting, you can do it at this stage. You're looking for a dough that's soft and slightly sticky, not too wet and not too dense. Cover it and leave it on the counter at room temperature. Let it rise for about 2 to 3 hours until it becomes light and airy. If you have extra time, you can place the covered dough in the refrigerator overnight, or even longer. For the best flavor and texture, I highly recommend this step. You can see here, after resting, the dough looks perfect. It has risen nicely and feels light. Now let's shape the dough. This dough is a bit sticky, so lightly dust your work surface with flour to prevent sticking. Turn the dough out onto the floured surface. Using a sharp knife or a bench scraper, divide the dough in half. Shaping is very simple. This is an easy bread recipe, so we're keeping it basic. No complicated techniques. Even if you don't want to shape it much, that's fine. You can just make a rough round or a long shape, whatever you prefer. Just match the shape to your baking mold. We don't need any fancy shaping here. This is homemade bread, and it should feel easy and relaxed. For a round shape, gently pinch all the edges into the center to form a ball. For a long shape, just pinch the seams together, then gently twist both ends in opposite directions. That's it, nothing complicated. Once shaped, place the dough onto a baking sheet and then place that into your baking mold. Cover it and let it proof for about 45 minutes to 1 hour. While the dough is proofing, preheat your oven to 230 degrees Celsius. After proofing, dust a little flour on top of the dough. This gives a nice rustic bakery-style finish. Then score the top with a sharp knife or blade. Before baking, add a few drops of water into the mold next to the dough. This helps create steam while baking. Now cover the mold with another similar-sized mold. If you don't have one, you can use aluminum foil. Just make sure it's high enough so it doesn't touch the dough while baking. Place it into the oven. You can also add a little water inside the oven to create extra steam. This helps the bread rise better and improves the crust. Bake for 15 minutes covered, then remove the cover and bake for another 25 minutes. If you want a darker, crispier crust, bake for a few more minutes. And that's it. Simple rustic bread made at home. Look at this bread. It looks perfect, right? Beautiful crust on the outside, soft and light inside. And the best part? It's made with just 4 simple ingredients. So easy to make. Just mix everything together, let it rest, shape the dough, and bake. No complicated steps, no special equipment. This is how simple homemade bread can be. You know, once you try this, you'll see that making bread at home is not difficult at all. I really hope you enjoyed this recipe. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to share it with your friends and family, especially those who think bread is hard to make. I'd love to hear from you, so let me know in the comments how it turned out. And if you enjoy simple, easy recipes like this, make sure to subscribe and stay connected. Thanks for watching and enjoy your homemade bread.